Hey everybody, welcome back to Race of History. Sorry I've been out of pocket the last couple of days. I've had a ton of work to do away from the channel, but I'm getting back into the groove of things today. I'm going to do Sabaton Great War. This is the music video for it. I had a couple of people ask if I was poisoned or dead or whatever from my last video, being the surstroming one. No, I survived it without actually getting sick or anything like that. It was just probably the worst thing I've ever done in my life. I have an extreme fear of heights, right? And so I've always thought like the worst thing ever would be having to skydive. I think I would rather skydive than do that again. It was seriously brutal. But anyway, we're going to get into Sabaton Great War. Let's go ahead and get into it. Those helmets are the best, by the way. Those Pickelhaube helmets, they're awesome. Probably one of my favorite, uh, like, pieces of military clothing of all time.
Where dead lies and paralyzed, my brother's eyes are gone. And he shall be buried here, nameless marks his grave. Mother home, get a telegram and shed a tear of grief. Mud and blood in foreign land, trying to understand. Where is this greatness all been told? This is the lies that we've been sold. Is this a worthy sacrifice? Great war, and I cannot take more. Great war, I keep on marching on. I play the great score. There will be no encore. Great war, the one to end all wars.
Okay, so first off, I really like the sort of behind the scenes music video. That's a cool concept to do. Kind of going all through the process of making the song, making the video, being in the studio, all that. Also, this is one of the things we've talked about, on most of the World War One videos. I feel like the concept of what war was, you know, prior to World War One, there's this idea. It's referenced at the time by contemporaries and then now talked about by historians later as quote unquote gentleman's war, right? The before World War One. And the idea is these are major European monarchs kind of moving pawns on a chessboard and giving or taking territory here or there, but the consequences are, in terms of later warfare, the consequences are much more limited, right? Now, obviously, you can find wars where that is not the case prior to World War One, but it's kind of this fanciful idea, and also just the way that war was looked at by political and military hierarchies of the time period, right? When you get into World War One, you have a lot of people sign up, volunteer, go in to serve in the war, who have these ideas of you know, of broad nationalism and heroism and camaraderie. And it's this idea of like war being kind of a cool thing, right? Like obviously there's bad stuff that happens, but overall it's like this big adventure. And you can even see in personal writings from the time soldiers who think very much that way of volunteering and getting into the war. I can't remember who the quote is from. It's somebody who fought in the war. Uh, I believe for the British, but I may be off. It may be for the Germans, who references the soldier on the front line in the mud, who the soldier who is laying down in a trench. I mean, in a shell hole, and they can't start a fire because obviously they can't give away where they are. They're freezing. They're trying to cover up and keep warm as best they can. And the quote is something like, is this the camaraderie? Is this the glory that we all were told about, right? And that's something that's very interesting for the psychology of World War One because it's such a different war. It's so much more broad, it's so much more devastating, it's so much more massive that studying it and looking back on it, I really don't like. I feel like culturally and like in that space and time was the only way it could have happened the way it happened. Right? Because I think of like today, if you had hundreds of thousands of casualties every time you went on an offensive, and yet over and over the whistle was being blown for, thousands of men to go over the top, how many offensives would it take until in the modern day those soldiers turned on their leadership, right? But it's like in World War One, there was just something about it, and psychologists and historians alike have studied this in depth. But there was just something about it where the soldiers kind of took it, right? They accepted that it was part of the deal, and they were fighting for a good cause and all of that, and they never got to the point other than. Obviously, this is a little broad because the Russians definitely did get to the breaking point, but it was never like full out mutiny across the board for the other belligerent armies, even though there were some close calls, particularly with the French. And that's just a very interesting thing to me because of how terrible and incomprehensible it was, for the people involved.
I'm standing here, I'm full of fear, with bodies at my feet. Over there in the other trench, bullets were my name. Lead ahead, as the captain said, and show them no remorse. Who am I to understand? What have I become? I do my duties, pay the price. I do the worthy sacrifice. I know my deeds are not in vain. Great war, and I cannot take more. Great war, I keep on marching on. I play the great score. There will be no encore. Great war, the one to end all wars. And feet by feet, be the place of a mile here. Though men are falling, we see heroes rise. We face the heat as we are fighting until the dawn. So follow me and we will write our own history.
God, their concerts just look so awesome. I mean, seriously. Every time I see one of their concerts live, or like I said, this video is just one of the cooler ones I've seen. But they just look so, so, so awesome. I would love to get to go to one of their concerts. Jesus. That was murder. Who did the guitar solo on that one? He killed it.
Great war, and I cannot take more. Great war, I keep on marching. I pay the great score. There will be no encore. Great war, the war to end all wars.
Okay, so that was Sabaton Great War. Man, what a cool music video. The song is really, really fast paced and has the back and forth drum with it, so it makes it feel faster than it probably really is, but great song. Yeah, I mean the topic of the Great War is, somebody put this in one of my comments saying that when they were younger, they were much more interested in World War II and kind of shunned World War One. I was that way when I was younger. I was much, much more interested in World War II than World War One. As far as modern history went, I've always been a little more interested in ancient history versus modern history, but in terms of modern history, I was way more into World War II than World War One, and that has flip-flopped now. I have way more interest in World War One than World War II because so many things are happening in World War One. Massive political shifts, massive geopolitical shifts, and empires falling, huge technological advancements, social change and upheaval, just all this stuff happening that, yeah, World War One just sucks me in now. But really, really great song. I like it. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Help me keep building the channel over here. I'll put the link to the Discord down below, and I will see you all next time.